Good morning. What a great day to serve God. And even in the midst of all of the things that are going on around us, another week that we don't get to be together physically, another week that we're listening to the competing ideas concerning this COVID virus, all the things that are taking place in our world and how it's stopped us, keeping us from doing what we really want to do and leading our lives away. There's good things that are coming out of this. We have to spend the time focusing on the things that are important. We've stopped doing a lot of things that at one time we were doing. We've shut down our rushing world for a little bit and taken ourselves back to a more simple time where we spend time with family. Whether we wanted to or not, we're doing that right now. And today I want to bring up a subject that I think that is something that everybody's interested in. I picked a subject that everybody, it doesn't make any difference who you are, you'll love to talk about it. You always want to talk about it because we always want to talk about ourselves. That's just what it is. We want to talk about us and how great we are or how bad it is for us or how terrible it is. But now that everybody's going through this pandemic at the same time, you can't choose that one. You can't say, oh, look how terrible it is for me. I want to flip the coin over today. I want to look at something even better. I want to talk about a new medicine that is really an old one, but it's on the market today. Now, it's not one that's going to cure you of the coronavirus. It's not about that, but it's one that will give life well worth living. And so today, I want to talk about a good medicine. If you have your Bibles this morning, we're going to the book of Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 17 and verse 22. It's a simple thing, but this preacher really knew what he was talking about when he wrote these words. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine. You know, to be true to the scripture, though, I can't just stop there. I can't just leave off the second half of that verse, but we only ever hear about a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. If you look at the last part of that verse, it says, but a broken spirit drieth the bones. You say, whoa, what a downer, what a negative. Well, then we need to focus on the first part. We need to focus upon the very fact that a merry heart doeth good like a medicine. You know, this is something that everybody is interested in. I mean, every time. We all want to talk about our aches and pains. You get to a certain age in life and you got a whole lot more. And if you really want to talk about it, here we go, right? It's the best conversation starter that I know. Everywhere I turn when TV comes on, any kind of news, they're all want to talking about a virus. They want to talk about this, talk about. Well, I can tell you this, when it comes right down to a conversation starter, all you have to do is mention physical ailment, something that's happened to you. And I promise you, everybody can relate, and they're going to want to tell you their stories. But see, you see, all of us have aches and pains. We do. I mean, you don't have to be old to not have aches and pains. I hear it all the time from my grandkids, how hard it is, and they're aching in their pains and all the powers that they go through. Well, they don't have a clue yet about what's really going on, but, you know, they will one day. But I know this. There's something wrong with every one of us. I mean, we're not perfect. Even though we live in a society that vaunts out the glories of a healthy body. I mean, we talk about it all the time. It's nothing more important than the appearance package. And I know, ladies, that's why people are distressed right now. No pedicures, no manicures. Oh, and no hairdresser. I'm sorry. And no wonder Walmart had the run on all the color, and therefore Miss Clairol got sold out completely a couple weeks ago because all you ladies wanted to make sure that your appearance package was great. Then you get to be like a man, and, you know, unfortunately, for most of us, well, this is what you get. I know it's not great, but this is what you get. Now, I do know a few men that are still trying to be 20 years old when they're 70. But, you know, Miss Claire will only take them so far. And then they're going to have to realize all those wrinkles didn't come along with their hairdo. That's for sure. So, our society does. It glories in a healthy body. Unfortunately, as I look at it, it's just simply new dressings over an old body. You know, I don't care how fancy your clothes are. I don't care how mod they look, how neat they're all about this kind of stuff and that. He says it's still an old body. You're just clothing it in new stuff. They're just putting on the latest fashion or doing this. Nothing's more shocking to me than to see someone dressed in the latest styles of this, only to when they turn around, they're about 30 years beyond the time they should be wearing that. But that's beside the point too. If you want to talk to somebody, all you got to do is ask them about their lives. When I first came to Texas, I found out real quick, being around country folk out in Hewitt, when Hewitt was real tiny, there was a few of them there that were just old farm hands and all that. And every time you asked them how things were, they said, I'm tolerable. I'm just tolerable. And they said it just like that. So I didn't know what tolerable really meant, but it was a great opening discussion. How did we get there? Talk about their troubles. Talk about their problems. And I promise you, they shared everything. Well, what was so just tolerable in their lives? What was it that really needed to be talked about? I realized real quick watching those people, they're hard workers, they could do all those things. They were physically fit in so many ways, but they were far below par when it came down to spirit. Their spiritual lives didn't measure up to how much time they put in on their physical lives. And I think it's even more true today. You remember what Paul would write in Romans chapter 3, verse 23. He makes the statement, he says, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. There's one aspect that one day we will have a perfect body. But that perfect body is not going to come until we walk out of this world into another world. Because this body has been integrated and beat to death with sin. This is what has taken place. All have come short of the glory of God. All of us have broken the law, God's law, his spiritual law. So our spiritual health is not up to where we want it to be. It's not the very day. We can't take a bunch of pills for this. We can't take something to boost the testosterone or to do this, to take away the wrinkles, to put on this on our face, to make us appear much younger. We are not as fit as we sometimes like to let on. We're not as strong as we want to be. But is that speaking to us physically, or is it speaking to us spiritually? Are we truly looking for something? I think it comes down to this. I think this really is the bottom line. We're not living the abundant life that God intends for us to live. No matter how you are physically, no matter whether you're at the peak of performance, you're at the point of, at that time in life when you're going to be the strongest you're ever going to be, you got knowledge to go with physical body and strength and all those kind of things. We're talking about the time of life that says, I need to live abundantly in my emotions, in my spirit. That's what's important. Not about knowledge as much as it is about our spiritual walk. It's about who we are. Now, all of us want to get rid of the aches and the pains. I know I do. I don't want to wake up with it every day, but I do. I wake up with some, and mine's not near as bad as some others that I'm speaking to even today. But here, in this particular passage, in this one little verse, in the 17th chapter of Proverbs, at verse number 22, the preacher, who was considered the smartest man that ever lived as a man, not talking about Jesus, but just as a man, he gives us a diagnosis, but not only the diagnosis of he gives us the remedy. He tells us what the problem is, and then he says, I've got an answer. I've got an answer to your dilemma. And he makes it very clear. A merry heart, a happy heart, doeth good like a medicine. How do you look at life? How we live our lives. So, quickly, what's the merit? What's the merit of having a cheerful heart? What is the merit of being a positive person? I know some people are positive about everything, the power of positive thinking, which is a great thing in a lot of ways. They're just so positive about everything, they're worthless in some regards. But there are some times that we really need that. We need to look at this thing. So the first thing that I wrote down, and I wrote down a few things that I thought would be something we could all relate to. Talking about the merits of a cheerful heart would simply be this: it's a medicine that's easy to take. You ever think about that? And it tastes good. You don't have to hold your nose to take it. You don't have to force the kids to take it. You don't have to grab them by the ear and twist it and say, you open your mouth or I'm going to cram it down your throat. It's one of those things you like. And the other great thing about it, there's no side effects. There's none of those bad things. Yeah, you can't take anything today. This is going to shut down your liver. Okay. Oh, your kidneys are going to fail. If you don't have a heart attack by the time you take this entire package right here, hey, you might survive. These are the things. We got side effects about everything. Anything they say that it's good for this, well, it's harmful for this. So, what do you have? It's easy to take and there's no side effects. Ain't that wonderful about Merry Heart? Oh, another thing is there's no risk. Absolutely no risk. I remember through the very life of a person that used to be alive and well in our family, how he suffered from something. And we today consider it to be one of the mainstays in our medical communities. It's called an X-ray. Now, I'm sure that everybody's had an X-ray somewhere or another. Down the line, where everybody gets an X-ray to find out about what's going on in your innards. They want to see this kind of thing. Well, when X-rays first came out, or when they first started being used more and more to look in, they were called the cure-all medicine. Even though it was radiation, they didn't realize all the things. But because this young man had so many of these X-rays that said this was going to be good to take care of your acne problems. What kid didn't want to get rid of the acne problems? But the very X-rays that they were exposing him to destroyed the pigmentation of his skin. He had worse problems than he ever had, and he would suffer the rest of his life because they thought there would be no risk, that this was the answer. Well, I can tell you this: a merry heart has no risk. This is one time that the remedy is not going to be worse than the disease. It's going to be the answer that you work for. Oh, that brings me to number 3. It actually works. Wouldn't it 100% guarantee your money back? 90 days, use this product. You don't like it, send it back to us. Blah, you'll get it all back free. Well, this is one time that it is absolutely 100% true. There's not one facet of this promise that is given to us, that a merry heart doeth good like a medicine, that says to me that is not true, because it is true. Every physician of any length of time would realize, and they know this, that the body is controlled greatly by our minds. How do we look at things? How is it going to affect us? Well, the body tells us that. Thousands of people die yearly, but they don't die from the physical side or the physical ills of life. It wasn't that they were incurable. It was the very fact that they gave up. They gave up because they could not see the end of the process. They said there was no hope right here, and therefore they lost what little hope they had. They gave it up. I recall in Jeremiah, the 8th chapter, verse 22, the word of God says, "Is there no balm in Gilead? Why is not the health of a daughter of my people recovered?" You see, God has a promise. There is a balm in Gilead. There is a provision that he makes for every one of us. His love and his grace that overshadows our life, the ability for him to reach down and to touch an aspect of our lives that doctors cannot touch. You see, that speaks to me about a merry heart. I can tell you this about a merry heart: it benefits the patient in all ways. and it benefits everybody around that patient. I don't know about you, but I'm probably not the most pleasant person to be around when I'm sick. Now, if I wasn't looking at this camera, I'm sure that everybody would be amening. It'd be the first time we've had a bunch of amens in the congregation ever. I mean, this would be the biggest thing. I'm not the most pleasant to be around when I don't feel good. Well, you're not either. That's all I can tell you. I mean, you're not the smiling, jovial person. I don't know what it is about being sick or about having problems that you get a little cranktified. Not sanctified, cranktified. So, I'm just here to say to you that a merry heart will give you the kind of spirit, the kind of attitude that will benefit you as a patient, and it'll benefit everybody around you. You know, if you've got a merry heart, you don't have time to be discouraged. You don't have time. You don't put anything in it. You know, we live in a world of gloom and doom all the time. We've been hearing about it. Turn on any of the news channel. That's all you hear today is about the gloom. And you know, that gloom is contagious. It's terrible. It'll get all over you. But so is joy. It's contagious. If you have a joyful spirit, if you have a joyful life, of all those kind of things, not made on stuff, not put on junk, I'm talking about true joy in our hearts. It's what the Bible speaks about because it is the most encouraging book that was ever written. Read the Psalms. You can read great things about how God has promised these things. Listen to the words of Jesus Christ. Follow the examples that were given to us over and over again. A simple example. 2 men go on a mission trip. They go out, and because they're so positive for Jesus Christ, Paul and Silas are taken. They're beaten, stripped, thrown into prison. Did they stand around and grumble and whine about all that? No. They began to sing. And that's something that's amazing to me. They began to sing songs and had joy in their heart that they suffered for the cause of Jesus Christ. And you know what else happened? Everybody else began to sing. Other prisoners picked up the tune. They all wanted to get in on that very thing like that. You know, because nobody ever sings alone. I don't know what it is about it. You can whistle and everybody else starts whistling. Well, these were prisoners, and other prisoners listened to them, and they joined in. Can I tell you this? There's going to be times in every one of our lives, and I kind of feel like it's taking place right now, that we get put in jail. I'm not talking about Highway 6 and the bars and all that, but I am talking about the fact that we feel like we're in jail right now. We feel like we're under oppression right now, that we cannot do what we want to do. But when I look at the Word of God, I see there's a great, strong emphasis that is placed on a good medicine. And that strong emphasis speaks to every one of us that says a merry heart worketh good like a medicine. You see, this book is an amazing book. It's a book of human struggle. It's a book of human suffering. It's a book of human tragedies. All of these things come. But beyond all the suffering and all the tragedies, it is a book of joy. It speaks to the very fact of joy. It talks about laughter. It brings out things that are funny. Jesus was very much a loving and funny person. It talks about praise. It talks about rejoicing. Rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice. Why? Because it's good for you. Be of good cheer. I have overcome. This world is not going to hold me down. You see, that's what a merry heart is. That's the kind of heart that we had as a Savior. That's the kind of heart that He has given to each one of us. He says we need that. That's what's in this book right here. So, how do you get it? You like the merits? You like the merits of a cheerful heart? How do you get a cheerful heart? This is really what we're looking for right here. Well, I want to tell you, you can have it. I need you to believe with me that you can have a merry heart. That the remedy is within your reach. Are you under a burden? Are you pushed down today? Well, if we take our eyes off of what is pushing us down, you can find a remedy for that issue. I'm not promising you the fountain of youth. I'm not promising you a wrinkle-free cream that you put on your face and you come out smiling like a jack-in-the-box. I am promising you, no, you're not going to win the lottery. You're not going to get the numbers for the lottery. It's not about the money. I'm promising you something that has no dependence upon your circumstances. It does not speak of anything about your temperament. It is greater than any one of those things and far more valuable. It's something that God and God alone provides. And it comes as simple as this: well done, thou good and faithful servant. That ought to put a smile on your face. That ought to put joy in your heart. You are pleasing unto the God of eternity. That should say to me that makes me have a merry heart. Can I tell you another how you can get there? You remember the passage that says, whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap? It's not a negative connotation. It doesn't have to be. You sow good seed. You sow the kind of seeds that help people. You'll reap that. You will reap out of a very small little, what you call an insignificant kindness. God will grow that kindness and bring it right back to you, because that is what you sow, you reap. It comes to us. You know, we can't shut our eyes to this ugly world that we are living in today. As we read recently in about Noah in Hebrews chapter 11. You know, the world was flooded. God was ticked. He said it was evil everywhere. He said, I'm going to wipe it all out. Can I tell you this? God said, I'll never do that again. I'm not going to flood this world again. But the trials of this ugly world, the condemnation that has come along, is coming back to visit us right now. We're seeing the ugliness of this world. We're seeing the negativity. So I'm not preaching to you a fool's paradise. I'm preaching to you and saying to you, if you sow joy, you can have a merry heart. It can be a cheerful heart because it comes from the inside. Not something you heap on yourself from out here. Not something you get because your bank account went up and somebody put money into it. I'm talking about real cheer comes from inward peace. That you're at peace with yourself. You're at peace really with the Father. You have found what brings it right there. You can stop the civil war that is within you by finding the peace that God has. You can get over your grudges. You can get past your hatred. Not every day, I'll take them to court. I'll get a lawyer. I have to do this. How about the very fact that I forgive? How about forgetting the slights that have come your way? You see, the world brings them all the time. What did Jesus say? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Even though you said, well, they knew what they did. They might. Yeah, they probably do. And they may not even care. But that should not hurt you twice. The slights that come our way, we need to see them in the light of the good things that God brings our ways. Besides that, I've never met a happy hater. If you hate, you're not happy. You're just not happy at all. But if you love, there's joy. There's a smile on your face. I think of, and I hate to use personal things, but I have to say this. My wife is a happy person. Not only do we have signs of joy everywhere, her favorite word, but she lives that out. And her very character speaks of joy. Because she looks at, does she have health issues? She sure does. Do we have family issues? Yes, we do. But she has a merry heart. Because that merry heart is because of inward peace that God has given her. So, what are you looking for today? You're looking for God. You're looking for the fundamentals of holy faith. That gives us a merry heart right there. We can look to the cross because that's where it was purchased for us, that my sins would be washed away in the blood of the Lamb that died on that cross for me. And then to know forgiveness. You see, all of these things together gives us a merry heart. So you can get rid of the bondage that's really bothering you, and I'll say it as clearly as I can, as straightforward as I'm going to give it to you. It's yourself. If you get past yourself, you can have joy. If you get over you, then things will be good. If you can simply say that everything does not revolve around you, then you can find real joy in this world. If you can stop for a moment and think about somebody else. You see, a dedicated life is a joyous life. So are you dedicated? Are you dedicated to someone beside yourself? If you are, I think you know what joy is. I think if you lose yourself in other people's burdens, then I think you know what joy really is. Let me close with this. There was a man that was on a quest. You know, we always hear about quests. Well, this man's quest was for a flower. Yeah, a flower. I said it. I'm not talking about a daisy or a posy or a rose or something like that. I'm talking about the name of the flower, which I have never heard of. It was called heart ease. Now, maybe you know that flower. Some of you ladies may have seen that before. Maybe you know about that. But this particular man, as most men, you know, they don't know where to find a flower, especially one that's so rare and so specific as heart ease. But every road that this particular man went down had obstacles. Everywhere that he turned. There was always some boulder in the way that every time he turned around, he was barking his shins against something and he's hurting himself. He's bruising his soul, knowing that he's looking for this one flower, but he couldn't find it. And then he recognized it, that the obstacle that he continued to hurt himself on was the burden that his brother carried. You ever heard that before? Something that someone else had was the obstacle that this man could not find the flower that he sought for, heart ease. So he determined in his life that he was going to make a difference. So in desperation, he decided that he would lift that burden from his brother. And as he picked up that huge burden and he placed it on his shoulders, he looked down, and there, blossoming under that burden, was the flower that he looked for. It was heart ease, and it had been there all the time, blooming under his brother's burden. There are times in our lives, my friends, that if we just simply took the time to lift our brother's burdens, if we took the time to look past the little issues of our lives, if we look past what we think is such a terrible suffering, and we look to see what God has been doing for us all along, and the real joy that we have in our lives. Of all people, Americans should appreciate this. Of all Americans, Texans should really love this. We have the privilege of living in one of the greatest states anywhere. We have more freedoms. We got a halfway intelligent governor that actually does wonderful things for us. Common sense people around us. And we have people that really do want to help, that are kind and gracious. But the most important thing, we've got a great God. A great God that lifts our burdens every single day, always looking out for us. And what is he saying to me today? A merry heart, a cheerful heart, a joyous heart, a happy heart. Well, it's just like taking good medicine. And the thing about it, it sticks with you all the time. So I hope and pray today that we'll look away from the virus. We'll get our eyes off on how our liberties have been suppressed. We'll quit thinking about the money we might have lost because we weren't able to work. And that we'll begin to think about, well, there's other people who have it far worse than I do. That there are other people out there that need me in whatever meagerness that I have financially. They can see that I've got an overwhelmingly rich soul. And my heart is a joyous heart because it's filled with the presence of Jesus Christ. Share that. And you'll continue to have that merry heart. And I promise you, it'll be the kind of medicine that's not only good, it's great. God bless you. And I'll see you next week, and we'll celebrate Mother's Day together.